tonight at the Highland Bowl. Yeah, get your tickets. Get your tickets. Play tonight at the Highland Bowl. What's that? Oh, when my wife and I first started dating, we go back to St. Louis.
Yeah.
There was an Earth, Wind & Fire cover band, like full band, not like free, like full, like.
Yeah.
We used to go every time. We're so freaking good. Like just every jam, you know, the beat is good. You know the word, like it's just they're unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yes. I wish I could sing and dance. Instead, God gave me good looks. You're supposed to be my ride or die. You don't laugh at that. Right? Oh, good cover. Good cover. Yeah, totally different. It's like when my wife's like, what the hell are you laughing at? I'm like, babe, I just think funny thoughts. Right? Nothing to do with you. I just it's here, right? All right. Good morning, everybody. We got a lot to cover today. Super, super excited. It's Life Insurance Awareness Month. So here's what I wanted to do. I'm going to start the first half of what we're going to talk about is life insurance. It's life insurance. Why? Because that's at the core of what we do. I had my schedule yesterday was just appointment. I had a 7:15 date with my wife, and I left the office at 7:45. Sorry. Covered it all up. Right? Real good. Where do you want to go to dinner, babe? She's like, I don't know. I go, I'll figure it out. Oh! We went out with Wood Ranch, a couple of glasses of Justin, little chips and guac to get started. Then we each had a salad. So we had salads and wine, and then on the way out got my son a kid's meal, and he was like, hey, where you at? I'm like, Toby. He goes, hey, give me that kid's ribs with, sweet potato fries. I'm like, okay. $125. For a couple salads and a couple glasses of wine. They're like, it's just insane, right? But we had a great time. No. Now, yeah, but Islands has the chicken, chicken tortilla, like, which you wouldn't expect at a place like Islands, but I've never had better than theirs. When I get sick, she'll get 2 of them to go for me, but that's a whole different topic. But crazy week. So we had the homecoming game was last night. My oldest son Alex has the ACT this morning. Then he and my daughter are I wish I could show the video here. Then he and my daughter are going to homecoming today. And then we got like the whole pictures, and they got the whole party limo bus deal and all that sort of stuff, right? And then my youngest son's playing basketball right now. And then tomorrow morning, me and Alex have to be at Whittier College at 8:30 because he's playing in a prospect camp there for 2020 recruits. And then yesterday, of course, then my wife's got to take my daughter to get her hair styled for tonight. But she just took her 3 days ago to the same lady to cut and color her hair, right? And then she had a half dozen of her friends over last night for the spray tan party so that they look good in the dresses. Bill's looking at me like, spray tan, what the hell's that, right? Yeah. It's an expense that you don't have to deal with, right? Yeah. Yeah. That's what crazy way.
You know what I'm saying.
Yeah. So the lady comes over and creates a spray booth and spray tans everybody. So it's just been a crazy, insane week. But it's been a fun week. So on my one-on-ones yesterday, I got the same question consistently, and it was one of them was from actually two times yesterday. One was a one-on-one, one was a follow-up interview. Were people that sat through the BPM, and the question that they had was, what do you guys do? What do you guys do? What do you guys do? And it is a great question. And if you're going to build an empire here, you better learn how to handle the question and be able to articulate it in a way that makes sense to people. So the professionals that I surround myself with, my cardiologist, my attorney, my accountant, my CPA, like the people that I have in my network that are highly educated, tons of experience, big thinkers, masters of their craft, here's what they all have the ability to do. Take complex ideas in their world and break them down into simple 3rd and 4th grade language for me to understand, so I understand what are the risks, what are the costs, what are the liabilities, what are the benefits, what's the upside, so I can make the decision equipped with all the information that I need to make the decision. But they make it easy for me to understand. Even though it's like they've got a decade of education around that and decades of experience, they're able to make me understand everything that I need to understand about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So sometimes when people leave the BPM, or you're one-on-one, or sometimes people in your market, like the ukulele guy, didn't understand what Lori did. Right? She understood what he did. He didn't understand what she did. So the question was, what do you guys do? And I said, we really do two things. Right? Here's the first thing that we do. It's for clients. Here's how we help our clients. It's basically a financial GPS. With a GPS, you start with an end in mind. Where do you want to get to long term? If it's a Warner.
We just went over this question during scripts.
Right.
So what's the content of the scenario that's going to be now?
In both cases, it was somebody who came to a BPM.
Okay, so this is after.
Yes, but I get it all the time in one-on-ones as well. You're sitting down doing a one-on-one at the court, and people want to know, if I'm going to consider a career here, if I'm going to consider doing business with your company, what do you guys do? Right? What do you guys do? So I said, it's like a financial GPS. You got to start with the end in mind. But if it's a long trip, if I'm driving across the country, my end destination might be Virginia. But along the way, there's places I got to stop to spend the night, to get gas, to go to the bathroom, to eat. So there's stops along the way. Some are short term, as I'm leaving California. I got to fill up the car. I got to put ice in the cooler, right? Some are midterm, some are long term. I said the same is true with people's lives. The long term, I want to retire at 62 with $7,000 a month of income. That's not what I want, but as an example, right? I mean, like living in James' house, right? Thanks, bro. Thanks. Couch is awesome. Along the way, there's I'll take your word for it. Along the way, there's stops along the way. So maybe before I reach retirement, maybe we want to downsize the house and move to a different state. Before then, I want to be able to have enough money to give my daughter the proper kind of wedding. Not like a Kardashian wedding, but I'm not going to go, hey, he's a terrific guy. Vegas is that way. I really feel good about this for you guys, right? Not that kind of a wedding either, right? Before then, I want to put all three of my kids through some sort of school. Whether that's diesel mechanic school, whether it's a university, I like just something that their heart yearns to do, right? Before that, maybe there's other things I want to do, okay? End in mind, but we've also got short, midterm, and long-term goals in there, okay? And then, and I tell people, we put all of this into our proprietary software program, which is like a financial GPS. Now with any GPS, the GPS system needs to know where you're starting. So the next thing we need to do is figure out, where are they starting? What's the start point? How do we figure out what the start point is? We just figure out what they already do. Like, do you have any money saved? Do you have any credit cards, car loans, student loans, a mortgage? Are you putting money into a retirement plan in work or out of work? Do you have any kind of life insurance in work, out of work? We just find out where they're at. And we collect that information, and we put that information into the proprietary software program. And what it does is it designs a plan. It designs a plan, not me, that's somewhere between 15 to 55 pages in length, custom for you and your goals and where you want to get to and your stops along the way and where you're starting. And we do this free of charge. Now, we do it free of charge, and there's no obligation whatsoever on the client's part to do business with us. And in my experience, usually 85% or so of the clients that we build a plan for, that we go through all this work, will wind up doing business with us, but we're totally okay if they're not. We just believe so much in everybody should have one of these, and we just like our chances. We know that most people haven't spent a lot of time doing this, and when we spend time doing it, we're going to find ways that we can save them money. what I oftentimes share here, this is something that I've used for over 15 years for sure, with all of my clients, and I've taught all my agents, is this. When we sit down with a client, there's 4 things that we're trying to accomplish. One is a financial plan. We just believe most people are better off having specific goals and a plan for achieving them versus winging it when you agree to them inevitably. So that's my first close before I get into the, right? The second is this, understand what you own. Here's the second thing that we do for our clients. We take a look at all this stuff that we just collected, their mortgage, student loans, their investments, their insurance, their retirement plans, and we just make sure that they understand what they own, Brandon. In my experience, and I always say this because a lot of times you have guys that think they're on top of it. In my experience, Brandon, a lot of times I meet really successful dudes that run huge companies, are super smart, run these companies like nobody's business, but what I oftentimes find is in their own home, with their own financial situation, I'll ask them about specific things they own, and they go, well, I think it's supposed to do this. And here's what I believe, better to know exactly what it's supposed to do before you need it, than be pretty sure. Doesn't that make sense? They always agree with that. So what I'm doing is getting permission to look at all their stuff, right? Not by making them a dummy, I'm saying, hey, lots of super smart, super successful guys, or gals, right? Number 3, here's the third thing that we do, is shop the market. So, if we sit down, Silton, with you and your wife, and we take a look at these products and services that you own, I'm going to shop them in the market with hundreds of companies that we're in business with. Here's what I know. This one probably a basketball update, I'll turn it off, as much as I know you guys are dying to hear. We'll shop the marketplace. And here's what I know about most people. They either have some life insurance at work, and they either have some outside of work, or they don't. They've got retirement savings probably, but usually it's all at work. Maybe they have a little bit outside of work. Here's what most people haven't done. They haven't really aggressively shopped it. Here's the funny thing. If you want to buy almost anything in your life right now, what are you going to do? You're going to go to Amazon and try and get the best price. Problem is there's not retirement plans and life insurance on Amazon. So that sort of stuff, we just sort of get it at work.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. So what we do is basically what Amazon does. I'm going to shop the entire marketplace and see, can I do one of 5 things? Can I lower your costs? Who's going to say no to that? Because as I'm saying this, they're already going, yeah, I haven't shopped any of this stuff. Like I got some of it, but I haven't shopped it. I'm going to try and lower your costs. I'm going to try and increase your protection for the same amount of money. Man, we should be in Ricky's class. Right? Can I reduce the risk or volatility of any of your investments? Can I, number 4, increase the rate of return? Or number 5, can I lower or possibly eliminate taxes on any of your investments? In essence, what I want to do, Silton, is I want to make your money work as hard for you as you are for it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Shop the industry. Here's the 4th thing that we do. It's what I call new recommendations. I actually sent out the script, but I realized that it needs, this particular one needs to be cleaned up. They didn't transcribe what I was saying correctly. Here's what new recommendations are. John, let's say I'm sitting down with you and your spouse, and you guys have young kids. This happens oftentimes. You say, one of our goals is we want to put our kids through college. But in the busyness of life, you haven't started saving yet for the kids' college. Well, in that case, I can't help you to understand something you don't own, nor can I shop something in the market that you don't own. But what I can do is make a new recommendation and say, John, here's the 7 most common places that people save for their kids' college education. Here's the cost and the downside of each. Here's the upside of each. And in that way, help you make a new recommendation to help achieve that goal. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Then here's the kicker. This is what I think possibly is the most important thing. In addition to these 4 things, is there anything that you would like to add to our conversation today? Why is that possibly the most important thing? Now they know I'm not talking at them. I'm enrolling them in a conversation that we're going to have together. They're part of it. This is not a pitch. It's not something I'm doing to them. This is something we're doing together. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yes or no?
Yes.
English speaking group? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. So, this is what we do. This is what we do. This is what we do for clients. And this is the end sum of what we're doing for clients. Now, as we go through and shop the industry and do all these things, the last thing I'll let them know is, oftentimes we can find, if you're paying $40 a month right now for $200,000 of insurance, and I can get you $500,000 of insurance for $28 a month, a lot of our clients that we can do that for want to switch insurance products, right? Can you imagine why? Now, do I have to be like an unbelievable salesman to convince them to go from $40 a month for $200 to $28 a month for $500? No, I don't. But how was I able to do that? Because I shop the market. They might have an old retirement plan from an old job that we can move and put in it, not only something that's safer, but something with a better rate of return. That's in essence what we do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What I've tried to do is take very complex ideas as far as what we do and break them down into simple, logical, step-by-step. And what I try and always do when I'm communicating things to client is go chunk by chunk by chunk. I'll number things. And I'll make sure we understand point one before we go to point two. Here's the challenge. A lot of us speak in narratives. And people get caught up in your story of all these things that we do, but then they have troubles piecing the whole story together. That's how we have people leaving the BPM and they go, what is it that you guys do? Because they heard the story of what we do, and they got pictures in their head, but there's not bullet points that they can follow. We just, Inland Hills Church, a church that we go to, just finally got our new pastor. They've had a search for over a year. Have you guys gone? Have you seen it?
No, I just follow him.
Oh, you do? Oh.
I know this church.
So we went last Sunday, which was his first full sermon. He had like a 10-minute the week before. I speak a lot in public. This dude crushed it. I couldn't believe how bad he crushed it. Just unbelievable. I was just like, holy sheesh. As a speaker and as a leader. And first time you show up to your new congregation, everybody's like, okay, what's he going to change? Well, how are things going to be different? Do I like this kid? Oh. But one of the things that he did was at the beginning, there was 4 key points. And then he'd be telling stories and come back to the 4 points. And stories coming back to the 4 points. And he came back, literally my wife and I were having a conversation about it last night over a glass of wine or 2. Maybe that's how they built that so high. Wasn't cheap wine, but it was good. We could have literally probably bought 2 bottles of the same stuff at Bevmo for what we paid for a couple of glasses, but I had somebody to pour them for me. But she literally was going over all 4 points that he made last Sunday. And she was talking about how at different points this week it's come to mind. We had to put down the best dog I've ever owned by far, right? Tuesday morning. So there were parts of his message that she sort of hung on to all week. But she was able to remember it. Why? Because of this. He had great stories in there that got us enrolled and engaged and created a narrative for what he was trying to do. But he had structure. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
So when we're communicating these things, these ideas to clients, we need to make sure that we've got structure to what we're saying. This is my structure. And it's structure in the Torrance office, Colorado office, Desert office. It's helped a lot of people because it's created just a simple structure to sort of follow. Does that make sense? So, I thought there was an earthquake. The Transamerica building was shaking over there. So, Life Insurance Awareness Month. There's simple. You need to be able to communicate what we do, and life insurance is not everything we do, but it's a big part of what we do. We're a life insurance company. I mean, that's at the core of what we do. We do investments, we do retirement planning, we help people get out of debt, but the core of what we do is protect families. Life insurance, okay? So, you sort of have to accept that and embrace that, okay? So, but you also have to be able to communicate what life insurance is, how it works, the importance of it, in a way just like my accountant, just like my attorney, just like my cardiologist, where people get it and want to move forward, okay? So here's how I do it. First thing we do is I'm sitting down with the client is what? Is, hey, as we're going through the data collect and I get to life insurance, it's like, Bill, do you and your wife have any life insurance at work? Great, I take a note. Do you have any insurance outside of work? Great, I take a note. Here's the $1 million question. Write this in your notes. How did you go about choosing that amount of life insurance? How did you go about choosing that amount of life insurance? Sales is all, write this in your notes in a different color or double underscore or italicize it or something. Sales is all about disturb and intrigue. Disturb and intrigue. That question is designed to disturb. How did you go about choosing that amount of life insurance? What do you think the responses are I typically get?
I get it at work.
I get it at work, that's all they offer me. Good, what else? What else a common response?
I can only afford so much, that's what they gave me.
Yes, I told them how much I could afford, so that's what they gave me. Really common response. Anything else? That's all I think I need? Oh, great. Based on, how did you come to that conclusion? Okay. And the four, yeah, I wanted to pay off the house, or possibly that's how much the agent told us we should get. So all of them are on shaky ground, in my opinion. IMO, right? For the millennials. No, but I'll explain what that means later. You just look like a millennial. I'm on the data collect. Here's where I go off the data collect. Do you mind if we take just a moment, John, and I teach you how guys like us go about deciding what's the right amount of life insurance? I write that in my notes. It's a powerful transition phrase. Do you mind if we take a moment and I teach you or share with you how guys like us, or women like us, or couples like us, or people like us go about deciding what's the right amount for them? In other words, I'm not going to tell you what's the right amount for you. I'm going to teach you how to decide what's the right amount for you. I'm putting him in charge and in power, but I'm still in control. I'm asking permission to something he's never going to say no to. Okay? And I'll go, here's how we do it. I'll go D-I-M-E. I know you guys have heard this before. I actually do it every freaking time. Any of my agents will tell you that are trainers that go out and they're talking about, okay, well, I'm looking at Nationwide. What do you think I should do with this client? I'm always going to go, what did it say here? I'm always going to ask them about this, and if they can't tell me what it says here, I will crucify it. I am the most patient, non-judgmental, loving, wonderful, warm person I know. Okay? But there's certain things I could just be a bear about. Just a bear about. And one is doing things the right way. Well, no, I was just going to quote them this much insurance because that's how much they have and I'm trying to replace it. Well, how do you know the agent that recommended the amount that they have did the right job? I'm not trusting some other agent out there that he knew what I know and he's doing a good job. No way. Right? So done. Right? So, God forbid something happens to you, Tim. No amount of money in the world can replace you as a husband or as a father. Evelyn's smirking because there's a number in her head. And it's not even that big. But, like, I'm trying to be kind to Tim, right? No amount of money in the world could ever replace you as a husband or as a father. Or as a son. Life insurance isn't intended to replace you as a man. Guys that have troubles buying life insurance, it's a man thing. It's a pride thing. I'm putting that aside, right? It's not intended to replace you as a man. Here's what it's designed to do. Is one of the rules, one of the hats that you wear, Tim, is that you provide income that Evelyn and the whole family is dependent on. And the goal of life insurance is to replace that. Okay. So the first question I have for you, Tim, and I'll put a T up here, is if something happened to you, would you want the debts paid off? And here's what I mean by debts: student loans, car loans, credit cards, personal loans. Not the mortgage, but these other loans. would you want any or all of those paid off, God forbid something happened to you, yes or no? All of them, okay, so that's a yes. Okay, Evelyn. I'll say the same thing and I never get any pushback. No amount of money in the world could replace you as a wife, as a mother, as a daughter, as an agent to be, right? But God forbid something happened to you, would you want the debts paid off, or could Tim just sort of handle them on his own? Okay, I'll say that multiple times, or could so-and-so just handle them on their own? Because I want them to think that that's the reality, right? So she goes, I want them paid off. I always skip the I and I go straight to the M. Tim, God forbid something happened to you, do you want the mortgage paid off, or do you think Evelyn could just handle that on her own? You want the mortgage paid off? Which is another way of saying Dean's not paying her, right? As an assistant. Evelyn, if something happened to you, would you want the mortgage paid off, or you're pretty confident Tim could just handle it on his own? Paid off, okay. Tim, God forbid something happened to you, would you want the kids' college education paid for entirely, partially, like 25, 50, 75%, or none at all, that's not important to you?
Yeah, possible 100 paid off.
Possible paid off 100%? Is there a school that you guys are thinking about, maybe a school that you're an alumni of, or a local school that is a good target or goal to set down?
That's enough for a private university,
30 grand a year? Does that sound about right to you, Evelyn? If something happened to you, would you want the kids' college education taken care of as well? Okay, good. So 100%, and instead of giving me a college name, they give me a number. Normally they'll say, well, Cal Poly Pomona, or Cal State San Bernardino, or I graduated from Berkeley, I want them to go to Berkeley, or whatever the case might be, okay? And I'm just going to capture that. Really important, really important. You believe it's really important to pay for your kids' college education, your client does it. This isn't about your life insurance, it's about theirs. Right? You think that your kids should work their way through college and earn it the way you did, and right? And they want to pay for their kids' college education, it's their life insurance, not yours. Don't argue with them about what they value, about their values. Keep your mouth shut, honor what's important to them. You're about asking questions, collecting information, okay? Real important, because I see people get uptight because they don't think other adults are raising their children right. This is the wrong time to be in that debate, right? Go to youth ministry or something. Lastly, Tim, if something happened to you and all the debts were paid off, the student loans, car loans, credit cards, the mortgage was paid off, and your kid's college education was paid for, is there an amount of income that you would want Evelyn to receive on a monthly basis for a period of time, either that first year or two, or perhaps until the kids are in high school, or until they're out of college, or all the way up until retirement, to support her in addition to these things?
Yes.
How much feels right on a monthly basis?
How much would you want? 5 grand.
5 grand a month. And then I asked the same thing of Evelyn. Is there an amount that's, or would Tim be fine after that? Okay.
I would
Like a lot of times I'll get a number like 2 grand, 2,500, 3 grand, until the kids are in high school, until the kids are out of college. It's whatever. Sometimes one has a bigger number, one has a lower number. It's totally okay. Okay? But, okay, that's terrific. Tim and Evelyn, this is how couples like us decide what's the right amount for us. So what I'm going to do is when I go back to the office, I'm going to put this through our software program, and it's going to help us it's going to tell us exactly how much life insurance each one of you needs to provide this, God forbid something should happen. Okay? Now, by the way, when I come back with my recommendation, and Tim goes, $1.4 million in life insurance, and he only had $300,000, he's like, that's ridiculous. You're trying to sell me way too much life insurance. I don't need that much, because 1.4 is the biggest number he's ever seen in his life. Compared it to his mortgage, compared it to his life insurance at work, compared it to his retirement plan, it's like, that's a preposterous number. No problem. I'm not in the convincing game. No problem, no problem. Let's just go back to how we discovered that number, Tim. So, you had said if something happened to you that you would want your debts paid off. Did you change your mind about that since we got together last?
No.
Okay, so we'll keep that. It must be the mortgage. You had said last week when I was here that if something happened to you, you wanted the mortgage paid off. Do you feel more confident that Evelyn could handle it?
No, it's still not.
Okay. College education. the income. By the way, if he goes, yeah, I don't think maybe she wouldn't need $5,000 a month if all those things happen. Maybe she'd only need 2. No problem. I have no issue with that. What I'm trying to do is design the right policy for them, not try and trick them into something to generate a commission. So let's say he goes, no, I think she'd only, you know what, I've thought about that. If all this stuff is taken care of, plus she's got this really high-paid power job as an executive assistant already, I think she could get by with $2 grand a month. I'm good. I'm good. So we make that adjustment and roll forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But now instead of trying to convince somebody to buy life insurance or how much they need, they're the one who's telling you how much they need and why they need it. So I try and do everything to get out of the convincing game and into the teaching game where they are logically going to make decisions that are important to them. Any questions on that? Yes, no?
No.
Questions? So here's the thing. It's just like these scripts to train the trainer. If I toss you the marker right now, I'm looking for somebody to toss the marker to. Who's going to come up and confidently walk through this in a clear, coherent way that is going to cause a client to want to engage and move forward the way I just did? And if you don't feel confident in your ability to do so, what should you do?
Practice.
Well, why? Well, yeah, but I'm busy.
No. How valuable is that skill to you?
I don't know. I mean, that's a question. Like, this is something you have to master. Because a lot of you are like, yeah, I'm not even taking notes. I've already heard this before. I already know this. You know it, but can you do it? You know it, but can you do it? And to what level of confidence and competency can you do it? Dylan and Warner and I were out on an appointment yesterday, and Dylan did the ASAP presentation. I think it was his 4th or his 5th. Freaking crushed it compared to where he was his 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Like, he just keeps making great strides, right? 37-year-old, her husband, her and her husband run 4 businesses, plus she works at the high school. When he was done giving the presentation, she gave him 12 referrals the referrals were crazy in the market. Crazy in the market. And it wasn't just like this couple, she's like, here's the controller of our biggest business that has the most employees. You need to talk to him, but first let's talk to my husband so that he tells you to get in and see the controller, right? And we left that appointment, and I had like 18 or 20 different things that I wrote down that Dylan had done very, very well. And I said, here's the next thing though. I said, your presentation has already gotten so much better than it was just a week ago. I can tell you're working on it. I go, here's the thing. Between now and our next presentation, I want to take it to here. I want to make a huge move where the next person that we sit down with, that, by the way, every appointment's been in the market. I said, the next appointment we go on, I want them to go, holy shit, like how does he know all this stuff? Or I thought he was in training. I want you to look so good and so polished and so confident. That's what you are. And you know what? Here's what I can tell you. Inside of the next week, he's going to be that good at the presentation. Now, you've been here a month or 3 or 5 or a year or 3. How many is just this little part of your presentation? It's not that you can't be like, you should already be money at it. How much longer are you going to play business and not be unbelievable at it? And keep wondering why, man, I'm just not making any money. When are they going to teach me the real secrets? Like, you've got to get good at certain stuff in any profession. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, so that's number 1. Now you go, so now that we've discovered, Tim and Evelyn, what's the right amount of insurance, do you know what kinds of different insurance are available?
I mean, there's term, right?
Right. Right? And is anything else?
That's all I know.
So here's what I'll oftentimes get from people. Well, yeah, there's term and there's whole life, right? They always call all types of permanent whole life, right? Or I've listened to Susie Orman or Dave Ramsey, or I went to Financial Peace University, or I met with Primerica 10 years ago, and like there's term and then there's the other guy, right? The Antichrist, right? I go, hey, do you mind if we take just a moment? Where have you heard that before?
About 10 minutes.
Yeah. Do you mind if we take just a moment and I teach about all the different types of insurance that are available so we can figure out what's the right kind? Do you mind if we take just a moment? So once again, I'm empowering them, but they never say no. So here's the different types of insurance, and there's a specific reason for this. What I'm doing is eliminating objections before they occur. If you don't eliminate the objections, then you're going to get them when you're trying to close, and then it's a convincing game and a confrontation, and you're going to melt. Because you're not good enough at overcoming objections, and you're not certain enough about what you're doing. I create incredible certainty because I've eliminated all the roadblocks in advance, right? So I go, well, you're right, Tim, there's term insurance, right? And then the next kind of insurance is what we call convertible term. Have you ever heard of convertible term before, Tim?
No.
As many times as I've asked this question, I'm undefeated. Nobody's ever said yes, ever. And right now, for everybody that has listened to Dave Ramsey, Susie Orman, read the book, has a brother-in-law in Primerica that thinks that cash value life insurance is evil and term is the answer, right now, at this very moment, just by taking this step, I've undermined whoever they listen to, Dave Ramsey or whoever, I've undermined their credibility, and I've created more credibility with me. I'll say, well, Tim, convertible term works just like term. However, depending on what kind of a convertible term policy you get, at some point during the term policy, and in some cases all the way up to the very, very last day of owning that term policy, you can convert it into a permanent policy. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, let's say you're 15 years into a 20-year term, and you have adult onset diabetes, or multiple sclerosis, or you have some form of cancer, or lupus, or all these things that can happen to us as adults. Well, if you have a normal term, 5 years from now, that term goes away, and you're never going to qualify for life insurance again. If you have a convertible term, you just convert that to a permanent policy, you're covered for the rest of your life. By the way, oftentimes when I shop the market, I can find people convertible term for the same price that they're paying for their existing term. In most cases, I can find it even less expensive. So if you could have convertible term instead of term insurance, like, would you ever choose term insurance? No. I just crushed whatever their source of credibility was before, that they were so good. Here, they had a lot of certainty about term insurance is the right way to go and everything else is wrong, because they heard it from somebody so many times, and I just took away all their certainty, which gives me the ability to influence. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But if you're too busy that you don't take the time to do this, you're going to run into objections related to term insurance versus permanent insurance about 40% of the time down the road. So you can either take this step, or you better be really prepared to handle that objection down the road. Okay. So in addition to convertible term, there's return of premium term. Do you know what that is, Tim?
No.
That's for people who hate insurance. What it basically says is, if you pay your premium payment every single month on time for the next 20 years, one way or another you're getting your money back. Because either you'll die and your beneficiary will get the money, or if you make all of your premium payments on time for 20 years, they'll give you all those premium payments back. That sounds great to people who hate paying for life insurance. The challenge is it's so much more expensive that it's usually not a very good option for anybody. I've met too many clients who are stuck in one of those policies. Next type of policy is a whole life. That's what a lot of people refer to as a permanent policy, but it's just one kind of a permanent policy. Then we've got universal life. Then there's something called flexible premium universal life. Then there's something called indexed universal life. There's global indexed universal life, and there's variable universal life. Basically, those are all the different types of insurance. So the really smart, really educated, on top of it guy who thinks he's got everything figured out, doesn't need a guy like me, thought there was two types of insurance. And what I'm doing is breaking down his certainty and creating uncertainty. And I'm providing the certainty that is now missing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I'm just making it super easy for me to help them make a decision that's good for them. Okay, so what's the best kind, Tim? What kind should you get?
I don't know.
You don't know. So let me share with you sort of what I believe. I think On this end of the spectrum, what do we get? We get low cost and lots of coverage. On this end of the spectrum, we get permanent coverage, which is important to some of us, right? And we get investment grade insurance. What do we get here in the middle? In the middle, a lot of these policies are trying to do this and they're trying to do that, and they're not really doing either very well. I will use whole life occasionally and universal life occasionally, and these are typical in estate planning cases, Tim, or sometimes with seniors that are looking for permanent coverage and they're not looking for cash accumulation. Okay? So what I'm basically saying is they were taught that whole life was horrible. Yeah, I almost never use whole life. It's really, really the exception to the rule, but there are occasions where it makes sense. Okay? So, do you know what the difference is between these types of insurance and these types, Tim and Evelyn?
One's permanent, the other one's just for a
Good.
certain amount of time.
Do you mind if we take just a minute and I just teach you some basics on what the primary differences are?
Sure.
What do you think they're saying at this point when I say, do you mind if we take just a moment?
Tell us more.
Well, because why? I've created so much value. Making money is about creating value for other people. And when you create enough value and give away enough value, money chases you down. When you're trying to sell stuff, it's then like you're chasing money. I want money to chase me. How does money chase me? I create tons and tons and tons of value for as many people as I can, and somehow I just check my deposits and go, oh, I must have created some value, right? So now I've created value in this relationship. They're learning things that make sense, and I'm chunking it down. It's not like this story. I'm chunking it down in little stories, and I'm making sure that they got buy-in each step of the way, which is going to give them the confidence to make a decision next time we get together. So to me, the difference between this type of insurance, Tim and Evelyn, and this type of insurance is a lot like the differences between renting a house and owning a house. Yeah, I know you know it already, but do you do it? And how well do you do it? I know you know it. I know we've talked about it, but do you do it? I don't care what you know. I don't get overrides on what you know. I care about what you do. I get overrides on doing, not knowing. Okay? But it's time for us to move from knowing to doing. So what are the differences between renting and owning, Tim and Evelyn? Which one's better for you, renting or owning? They always say owning. What do I want to do? I want to create a little bit of uncertainty, a little bit of doubt. I go, can I ask you a question? So, let's say you two just bought your dream house in Rancho Cucamonga. And 3 months later, Tim gets transferred to Long Beach, California. And you need that salary to make the mortgage payment. Is your dream home that's located in Rancho Cucamonga such a dream right now? Why? Why don't you just sell it and buy a new one down in Long Beach? Because 3 months in, you really can't do that, can you? So, renting and owning, both are good. It really depends on the situation, what you need at the time. Does that make sense? Yeah. What are the benefits of renting? The benefits of renting are low short-term costs. What do I mean by that? You pay first and last and you're in, right? What are the benefits of renting? Flexibility. Hey, if I rented a place instead of bought a place in Rancho Cucamonga, and I'm 3 months in, 9 months from now we can move. And I'm good. I might even be able to sublease it, right? What's the downside of renting? The downside is my long-term costs are high. What do I mean by that? If you rent year after year after year after year for 30 years, your rents are going to keep escalating. And after 30 years, you're going to have to keep renting some more, right? So your long-term costs are higher, right? What else? There's no tax benefits to renting, and there's no equity appreciation when you rent. True or not true?
True.
Okay. What about owning? What are the benefits of owning? The benefits of owning are the long-term costs are less. How are the long-term costs of owning less? Well, because let's say you get a 30-year mortgage and you never refinance. 10 years from now, that mortgage payment is gonna be easier to pay. Why? The value of the dollar means that $2,000 a month isn't worth as much 10 years from now as it is today. Does that make sense? 10 years from now, it's likely our incomes are up, so it's a smaller percentage of our budget. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And 30 years from now, if I make my mortgage payments on time, I own it free and clear, and as long as I pay my property taxes, I can keep it, right? If I don't pay my property taxes, you'll find out who really owns it, right? So my long-term costs are actually less owning a home, right? I have great tax benefits through ownership, and I build up equity. What's the downside of owning a home? The downside is there's limited flexibility, and the short-term costs are higher. They're the exact opposite of this. Why are the short-term costs higher? I've got to come up with a down payment and closing costs and escrow and appraisal and title, right? And a down payment. Like I got to come up with all this up front. So my short-term costs are way higher, and I don't have near the same kind of flexibility. Why is this story important? Long-term what? Long-term commitment?
You're selling my ownership.
Some people can only afford term, ownership.
Shows them the pros and cons of renting and owning, just like it's kind of transfers to the pros and cons of.
Kinda, 100% transfers. Here's why. Lori really did the best job of what I was looking for. It makes me neutral. I want to get them out of black and white, this is good, this is bad. You can't look at this and go, this is good and this is bad, or this is bad and this is good. It's like, well, it depends. So, which one of these is good and which one is bad? There isn't a good or bad. They're all good, it depends. They all can be bad, it depends, right? So, I'll just end this little story by saying, well, Tim and Evelyn, the difference between renting and owning is a lot like the difference between having term insurance and permanent insurance. They both can be very important and beneficial for us. It depends on what our situation is and what we're trying to accomplish. Between this and this right here, I've now annihilated any resistance towards perm insurance in advance of presenting permanent insurance, okay? So, Tim and Evelyn, do you mind if we take a moment and I teach you how couples like us decide which is best for them? Because don't you want to know which one you should get, which one is best for you in this situation? What do you think they say?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah. Okay, good. So this is what I call dependency periods, okay? And so my kids are 13, 16, and 18 right now. But if we go back 10 years, Jack was 3, right? Lexi was 6. And Alex was 8, right? And so if I did what a lot of people say, you go, well, I need a 20-year term insurance policy for $1 million, right? Makes a lot of sense, right? Here's the question I have. What that's saying is, Jack's 20 now. When he's 23 and getting out of college, how many days are there in a year? Okay. I knew that, I was just testing you guys. So what you're saying now is in 19 years and 364 days on this day, I have a need for $1 million in coverage. And 2 days later, I have a need for $0 worth of coverage. Does that make any sense to you, just commonsensically?
No.
It doesn't, does it? Like, it doesn't make any sense at all. Could you suggest that maybe actually the first 10 years when the kids are younger and it's harder for my wife to provide for them in my absence, that there may even be a greater need for coverage than the second 10 years when the kids are older and a little bit independent? Is that possible? Logical? Yes? So, this is what we call a high dependency period. Is it possible, Tim, that you may need coverage after this day?
Yes.
Is it possible that, like, I know for me and my wife, Tim, there's a standard of living that I want my wife to be able to continue, whether the kids are in the home going to school or whether they're graduating and out on their own. There's a standard of living I want to be able to her to continue, right? And so how do I do that? I do that with permanent coverage. And one of the goals for couples like us is to decide how much permanent coverage do I need long-term to protect the things that are important about that we already talked about, right? And then in addition to that term coverage, short-term, during what I call the high dependency period, which is right here, let's buy as much of the cheap stuff as we can, and that's exactly what I say. Who wants to buy cheap stuff? Like there's areas of your life I want to buy cheap stuff, and then there's areas of my life I want quality stuff. Last night I wasn't buying the cheap wine. I wanted the quality stuff, right? Years ago, I wanted a whole bunch of the cheap stuff, right? Now I want the quality stuff, right? So I will say, the goal is let's find out how much permanent coverage we need long term, and then let's buy as much of the cheap stuff as we need for the short term high dependency period. And then, when Jack gets to this age, the cheap stuff goes away, but I've still got the permanent stuff in place. Does that make sense? Yeah. Now some of my clients, quite frankly, can't afford the permanent stuff yet, and so we load up on the cheap stuff.
Quick question, Chris. So at this point, in the beginning stages, we look
Edward Burns, one of the top 25 direct recruiters in all of the World Financial Group out of over 50,000 agents last year. Give it up for Ed. I didn't say top 250, top 25.
At this point here, we're buying more for less now, and then we convert, it'd be a convertible term. Would you look at that being?
Yeah, I almost always use convertible term. But in most cases, like if they can't afford permanent, and so we're loading them up with term right now, in most cases when they can't afford the permanent insurance, it usually makes sense to write a new permanent policy unless something about their underwriting criteria has changed. Their health has changed, their weight has changed. If nothing's changed and they're still healthy, you're usually better off taking out a new permanent policy, because the conversion policies where they're really, really attractive, there's a cost factor already built into that, anticipating that the reason that someone is converting is because it will benefit them, not the insurance company. Yeah, good question.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for being here. So, any questions on this? This helps clients to understand the difference. The reason that the majority of my clients have both perm and term policies is because of this. By the way, if all you do is sell them an IUL and you leave, and then somebody comes in and tells them how bad permanent insurance is, cash value, it's only there to make somebody a lot of commissions, or they go online and read a bunch of crap, they're going to go, yep, that's exactly what the dude did. He came in, so convinced me that I should be buying a whole bunch of this permanent stuff. And you look like the article they're reading describes. And then they cancel and charge back on you, and you can't understand why. And then you can't get a hold of them, and you can't understand why. But if you sold them the primary breadwinner, the healthier one, a permanent, and you sold 2 term policies, you don't look at all like that article describes, or like that complaint describes. You look like somebody who's measured, who takes a look at everything, who's putting the best plans in place based on their individual needs. Not some shoot from the hip, run and gun salesperson. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now, some of you are like, I don't want to waste the time on the term applications because they take so much time and I don't make much commissions. That's why you should be training people. Dylan, I've been doing this for 20 years. I already know how to fill out a term application. Here, you're going to learn by filling it out. You're going to learn by doing the underwriting. I'll stay on top of him. I'll give him feedback. I'll hold him accountable, but I ain't doing that work. We're still splitting it, but he's doing the work. Well, that's mean. You're treating him like a slave. No, I'm teaching him how to do it. That's how you teach people how to do it. Some of you have to do everything yourselves. That's why you get stuck in the S quadrant. Because nobody does it as good as me. You get stuck in the S quadrant. It's S quadrant mentality.
See, now I have somebody that I just met with, and they don't want the term, only a permanent, and they're saying, I don't want that throwaway insurance, even though she has young kids. So how do I tell her then
Did you walk her through this?
repeatedly?
Repeatedly. That at the end of the day, I've had this happen a bunch of times in my career. Here's what I would advise or recommend. If you want to do this other thing, you're the client. It's your life. You get to make the decisions. My job is just to teach and advise you. But they know, here's my advice, but if you don't feel good about that, you just want this, I'll help you with that. I'm not gonna say no and then some competitors gets to help them with that, like, I'd rather have them as a client. But I'm not gonna be disingenuous, I'm always gonna tell them what I think is, I've done it a bunch of times with like rollovers. Here's a mutual fund, here's an indexed annuity, here's two radically different types of variable annuities, which one do you think will be the best fit for you? And they tell me, I go, wow, that's right, I really thought that this would be the best one for you, and here's why I think it would be, but if you prefer that, and then sometimes they change their mind, sometimes they go, no, I really want this one, I'm like, okay, no problem. Sign here. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's their money. They get to decide what to do with it. Our job is to help them make better decisions. Right? Any other questions on this? Any other questions? No? Okay. Is this helpful at all?
Yes.
I know you guys already know all this stuff.
Not with diagrams.
Huh?
Not with diagrams.
I've drawn these diagrams a million times. A million times. So, it's Life Insurance Awareness Month. Can we have a little bit of real talk?
Yes.
A little bit of real talk?
Yes.
Okay. As Dean mentioned, those of you that are on My WFG, some of the new people aren't yet, if you're not yet licensed and appointed, but if you're on My WFG, you have something called Campaign Manager that is part of the access fee and you're paying for every month. It's like, how many of you love to pay for a gym that you never go to? Love to pay for a timeshare you never travel to, right? Love to pay for things that you never use. Nobody does, right? You're paying for this. It's got newsletters. It's got branded emails with your picture. If that's not good for marketing, you can use my picture, your contact information, right? It's there. You don't have to think of anything. You just upload your contacts. You press a couple of buttons. You can send these out repeatedly, right? You've got social media. The company puts out, TFA, WFG puts out, our product providers put out, other leaders in the company put out, so many different social media ideas that you could be branding yourself. You know what I see when I look at a bunch of your guys' social media profiles? And the stuff that you guys are posting and talking about? A 0 to very small percent is about what you're doing here. Very small percent. Like, people literally think like your main interests are something completely different. Of course, should you post about like what you ate last night? Of course you should. Right? Should you post about like your kids? Of course you should, right? Social media is a technology of the 21st century that gives entrepreneurs like me and you the ability to compete with the biggest companies on the planet. We now have an advertising platform that's free of charge, or virtually free of charge. You gotta pay your access pass, right? Free of charge, that allows us to grow. Think about how much Ed Milet spent growing his Instagram following, his YouTube following, he spent almost no money, and he's got this enormous influence and presence in the marketplace. Enormous, right? You have the capacity to grow and grow and grow your brand. But if we did a survey of 100 people that follow you on social media, when they're talking about who you are and what's important to you and what do you stand for and what's your contributions to the marketplace and how do you create value in the marketplace, where does life insurance show up on the list? Is it the first thing they think of? Is it the second? Is it the 10th? Do they not? It's an individual question. Like, Amelie was here, and everybody's like, holy crap, she made $5,000 in her third month. How many of you have been here 3 months? How many? Nice and high. How many of you have been here 3 months and have yet not made $5,000 in a month? Nice and high. How'd she do it? She made 10 grand in her 7th month. what she talked about, if you were paying attention, one of the things she said is I radically shifted my identity. She said, I did not own a pantsuit, and I went out and bought a bunch of them, and I wore them all the time, everywhere. Why? Because people knew her as a server and a surfer girl. She said, I even wore it down to the beach where all my surfing buddies were. Blew their minds. And then she talked about how she used social media to begin talking about and rebranding herself. Success leaves clues. Successful people in the making follow those clues. Oh, that's a clue, and go about your business, right? There should be you've got an excuse in September to like literally be talking about this 90% of the time. Like if it's Cancer Awareness Month and you have a family member that was stricken by cancer, you're doing cancer walks and you're blowing it up on social media and you're talking about this as a cause. If it's autism, like people get passionate about causes that are important to them and they communicate to create awareness. This is Life Insurance Awareness Month. If you believe in the value of life insurance, and if you're trying to grow a big business and help a lot of families and make a lot of money, if it's Life Insurance Awareness Month, what are you doing to make people aware? Do they have any awareness because of you? And what level of awareness? This is sitting here waiting for you to use. What about dressing the part? Do they know that you're in the life insurance business? Do they know you're in financial services by the way you dress? Or do you only dress sharp on Wednesday evenings and Saturday mornings? And you sort of dress sharp when you have an appointment. Like, you shouldn't. I'm only talking about making a radical shift. But you know what Dylan did yesterday when I watched his appointment? He made a pretty big shift in his presentation. The conversation that I had with him, when we were having lunch afterwards, is I want a radical shift between now and the next appointment. One where people in their 30s and 40s and 50s are meeting with him. They're like, holy F, what the H? Like, they can't believe his level of understanding, his ability to communicate these things. They're like, who the hell is this kid? That's what I said. I said I want a radical shift between this presentation and the next one. Because, and here's what I said. I go, they're going to go, holy cow. What's happened to this kid? I've known him as this kid, this identity. Now he's showing up this way. This is shocking to me. Not like, oh, this is impressive to me. This is shocking to me. What are you doing to shock your marketplace with your brand and your level of awareness and the value that you're trying to create in the marketplace? Are you just like reposting like cute memes about being successful? You're one of those guests Wednesday night, like he knows every quote, every meme, he knows every influencer, right? And he's 40 and he's broke. And he's scared. But he's got a plan to be financially independent. Well, dude, you got a 20-year head start and you're not doing real good. Despite everything you know. Because it's not about knowing, it's about doing. Ain't doing. He's just knowing a lot. He's just knowing a lot. Oh, I think I just sent a message through Siri. I hope it was a good one. I just looked down like Siri's on. I'm like, okay, that'll be interesting. So this, exactly what I'm talking about, ties into train the trainer. What?
Christopher, do you ever come across a situation where you do all this work and then the guy says, oh, I want to shop around to see if I can get a better price?
Sure, of course.
How do you overcome that?
I set more appointments. I'm not going to sell everybody. Not everybody's going to buy. Sometimes even when I do the best work and have the best answers and do everything the right way, sometimes they still say no.
Yes.
I don't care. I'm just glad I got the opportunity. If I didn't win your business, if I didn't earn it, or if you're too big of a moron, I'd rather have the shot than not have the shot. Like, some things there's no fix for, right? I just go do more. Right? It's no big deal. But that's exactly, like, no offense, but that's exactly the kind of mindset that I was talking about earlier. I'm not looking at it transaction by transaction. Well, if I do this for them, what's in it for me? I'm looking at how can I create more and more and more value for more and more people, whether or not they give me back anything or not. I'm creating so much value that I'm attracting money. I'm not chasing money. Too old to be chasing anything. All right?
Oh, that's so much.
I choose not to. So, train the trainer. Okay? Here's the facts. I know some of you are part-time, some of you are busy. My life's pretty busy, believe it or not. Right? I give you just a little snippet of it. Right? I'm pretty busy. Here's the fact of the matter. You got a guess? The fact of the matter is, close it. Certainty. An enthusiasm. Pretend like you're Amelie Bob. Before you go ahead and close your guess, pretend like you're Amelie Babin in your level of enthusiasm and excitement and certainty. Not her personality, but that level of enthusiasm as you're closing your guests. Who's got a guess? Okay. Go rock that. You're not going to win at any level if you're not willing to do the work. We're designed as a part-time business opportunity, but here's what I want you to know. You're going to have to put the work in. It's like, I'm going to give you a quick example. One person joins the gym. One person joins the gym and they sign up. They sign up for the gym. And every month it's drafted out of their account. They sign up. A second person shows up. They sign up and show up, but they don't have any trainer, any direction. It's like, I went back to my physical therapist this week to have him work on my shoulder. Guess why I went to him? Because he's an expert at that stuff. He knows stuff that I don't. I want to. Can I share with you guys something that just sort of showed up big in a bunch of interviews I had this week? Successful people, wealthy people, ask for help. They get all the help they can. Middle-class people and broke people want to do everything themselves and they don't want to ask for help. You know what I came home to yesterday when I finally got home close to 8 o'clock? I came home to a sparkling, clean home. Why? Because we had someone help us clean the house yesterday, just like they do every week. We had 4 or 5 people in there cleaning the house. I love the fact that they help us with that. And I love the fact that we help them with their income. It's a big help. Guess what? My wife doesn't pay any bills in her house. She pays 0 bills. Why? I have Maria do it. At first, my wife was reluctant to do that. No, I feel like I need to manage this stuff. I said, babe, you and I need to manage the decisions related to where our money goes. We don't need to do the tasks of opening envelopes, writing out checks, setting up online payments. We don't need to do that. Let's get help. Wealthy people, successful people get as much help as they can. Why do I out-earn everyone in the room? I have more people helping me earn income than any of you do. I have more people helping me. I'm not trying to do it all on my own, right? Show up, no trainer. There's another kind of person that joins the gym. And that's what I call not show up, but blow up. And they get a trainer, and you know what else they get? A meal plan. Yeah, / accountability. And there's a 4th person, and I call them, no offense to Ricky, a transformer. Why? Because they obsess. They take every freaking resource the gym has, and take advantage of it. They take advantage of the trainers. They take advantage of the classes. They take advantage of the nutrition program. They take advantage of the accountability. They're reading about it. When they're not at the gym, they're focused on their nutrition. They're focused on their energy. When they're not at the gym and they're doing some reading, like they're following certain podcasts, they're reading certain articles, they're always looking for sort of like the edge to get even more and more and more out of this. How many of you know somebody that's a signer-upper that joins a gym and doesn't participate?
Yeah.
Or participates, or listen to this, they sign up for the gym, they pay for 31 days of usage of the gym, and they go 2 days a week. Know anybody like that? Somebody that pays for 31 days of usage of the gym and goes 2 days a week, what kind of shape do they get in? They don't. They oftentimes can't even maintain their current level of fitness, only going 2 days a week. Does that sound like anybody WFG? Well, I sign up. Oh, please. I've seen the numbers. Don't lie to me. You can lie to yourself, don't lie to me. You sign up for WFG, you get 31 days of access to all the resources that we have, all the leadership, all the classes, all the mentorship, everything, and you show up 2 days a week. Can't believe I don't have financial fitness. Can't believe my money's not exploding. Can't believe my team's not exploding. Man, I'm showing up 2 days a week. And you know what you're comparing it to? Just like the guys in the gym. Well, I'm showing up 2 days a week, and all the people I know in my market don't go at all. Who cares? 2 days a week isn't enough to build anything. You're spending 2 days a week that they're not, but you're not really getting any closer. You're just getting some ideas. I know it. But do you do it? Well, I know it. I know where the gym is. I know what time they open. I know where the equipment is. I know where the resources are. I know how to use them, but you're not really using them that much. Does that make sense? You show up and you got a trainer. Here's why I got a trainer. You know why? Because this dude makes me do a bunch of crap I would never choose to do on my own. And because he makes me do crap I would never do on my own, I get results I would never get on my own. Yeah. Yesterday, I did 2 sets of 2, bench pressing 225 pounds. Slow, controlled, steady, nice. For a 54-year-old dude that's got a dad bod and triple bypass surgery, I'm stronger upper body than my 18-year-old son. I got a trainer. And he knows how to get me there. I just do what he says. I felt like I could have gotten 3 reps. He said I want 2 sets of 2. We went from 15 to 12 to 6 to 2 sets of 2. I'm doing what he's telling me to do. Doing what he's telling me to do. I want to be loud and clear on this one. I want to be loud and clear on this one. A trainer is that person. He was there spotting for me. He was there challenging me. He was there telling me what to do, but he was helping me to get the results that I needed. Some of you have trainers that aren't doing that. They're not real trainers. You need to find a real trainer. What do I mean by that? Dylan, can I tell them the real story? You guys can't tell it. Dylan's 18 years old. He's 18. Dylan has had 3 guests, 2 of which were in the market. He's had 5 appointments. All 5 appointments were 100% in the market. Completely, like, crazy good market. Crazy. You know why? He's got a trainer that's making the calls for him. He's driving the activity in his market. He's leveraging his credibility in his market, and he's getting results. And here's what's going to continue to happen. He's going to continue to do that, and he's going to continue to crush a whole bunch of people in here. Because a whole bunch of people in here want to make their own calls. Or they have a trainer who's not willing to make the calls. Here, use this script. Here, do this. Here, do that. I was giving feedback. I was giving coaching to someone yesterday, not in my hierarchy. And as I was talking to them about the level of overlapping leadership, what the person was doing, I was like the person has no chance. They've got an unbelievable work ethic, but they're just like they're doing everything on their own, this person's not doing anything, other than telling them what they think they should do. A good trainer is gonna make make the calls for you until you're good enough on your own. You know how you know you're good enough on your own? They watched you do it a bunch of times, they've coached you through it, they've given you feedback. They didn't give you a script and say, go get them, good luck. Do I believe in him? Hell yes, I believe in him. He's still making the calls. Does that mean he hasn't made any calls? No, he's made calls. And he's had to follow up with people that have called him back, but he's driving it. There's too many new people in this room. They're in the driver's seat. Now, Amelie, I was talking to Amelie at dinner about, she was talking about becoming a Christian, right? And long story short, she was raised sort of in a church, but never really had a relationship with the Lord. So and she moved to San Diego. It's this long, crazy story, but she was staying at somebody's house that wasn't even a friend when she first asked him. It was an acquaintance, right? Because she'd gotten stranded. And she's like, this person who was letting her stay at the house kept inviting her to her church. And she's like, why would I want to go to church? Like, I'm in my 20s. I did church when I had to with my parents. Like, she had no relationship with the Lord. And she said, I had this dream. She's living in San Diego. She goes, you know, PCH at points, you're driving, and it's like you see the cliffs, and you can go right over it, right? She's like, it's crazy. She's like, I have this dream, and my car lurches off the road, breaks through the barrier, and I'm catapulting down towards the ground, and I'm scared, I can just feel everything happening. And she goes, and the next thing I know, I land softly on the sand, right? And she said, I look over, and Jesus is sitting right here next to me. And I said, next time he's in the car with you, have him drive.
We don't care.
What are you doing having him sit over there, dummy? Right? Have him drive. Too many of you are trying to drive your car. You're not getting results. You're getting frustrated. Your beliefs are getting weaker. You're creating more doubts in your head because you're doing the driving and you're not ready to drive yet. Doesn't mean you don't know some of the stuff. Doesn't mean you're pretty. He's better at leveraging he's got a ton of credibility. He's better at leveraging it. I'm better at leveraging it. That's why you should be doing it on your appointments and you should be doing it on the phones. You've got a chance to blow this thing up big and fast, and it's not too late for you to go, you know what, Jesus, let's switch places in the car for a while. Let's focus on getting me a bunch of results, and then we'll start transitioning back. Because, you know what my goal is for him? We were talking about this on a one-on-one yesterday with somebody at the coffee shop. I want him to be independent of me. Independent of me doesn't mean I don't help him anymore. It means he's not dependent on me to get results. It's not that listen to me, it's not that he knows everything and doesn't need me because he doesn't know things. Some of you are independent, or you're creating independent people because you've answered all their questions. It's not independent. Independent is when he's able to do things and consistently get results on his own. That's when he's independent of me. Not because he knows everything. He's independent when he's getting results. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, I don't care if you've been here 10 years. If you're driving the car and not getting results, decide that what's more important to you than driving the car is getting results. Now here's the challenge. Any of you ever in your car have somebody else drive your car when you're sitting in the passenger seat, or worse yet, you're sitting in the back seat while somebody else is driving your car? Have you ever done that before?
Yes.
How unbelievably awkward does that feel?
Very.
Scary.
It's like the weirdest thing in the world, isn't it? Like, not driving your own car, somebody else driving it. Some of you that have been driving your own car for a while, that's what you're going to experience. It's going to feel weird letting somebody else drive the car for you, but if you have the right driver there, you're going to see results begin to explode. And so you got to decide, am I here to know everything, or am I here to make a bunch of money, build something big, and do something special in people's lives? If so, maybe you need to turn over the driving to somebody else for a period of time until you learn how to become a results-oriented driver, not just somebody who knows what they're supposed to do when you're driving, okay? I'll save the second half of my training for next Saturday. I'm in Miracle Mile this Wednesday. Okay, let me leave with one thing. By the way, which approach to this gym, the mental gym of WFG, are you taking now, and what adjustments would you need to make to go from here to here, here to here, or here to here? What specific adjustments would you need to make to get transformer kind of results in your life? Because I'm working out the same gym you guys are. I want you to be getting the same kind of results that I'm getting. And you can't. It's not a difference between me and you, it's what we're doing with what we have available to us here. Okay? So, the person that begins to move this way is going to be the person that takes the information from today's class and masters it. They don't wait till next September when I talk about it again, then they go, oh, I know, oh, it's the dime method, oh, it's... That doesn't count for anything. Nobody pays you commissions because you know something I trained on a year ago. They pay you commissions because you get really good at sharing this value, the value I just created for you. You share it with other people who have not been experienced that value yet. You get great at sharing it by role-playing it, by also reaching out to people with your trainer, with your driver. You reach out to people and then you begin sharing it. The more times you share it, the better you get at it, the more value you create in the marketplace and starts coming back to you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Train the trainer is part of you maxing out the resources at the gym. If you're not, you can't miss those kinds of things and expect to blow up here. You can't do this, come twice a week, and expect this. We call that hallucination, right? You've got to do your part, and if you do your part, each one of these is available to you. Each one of these is available to you. It's not only available to me, it's available to you if you do your part. If you have the right driver and you've got strong accountability, you'll do your part. But don't try and do your part on your own without any help, because you don't need the help. Okay? Get all the help you can. Let Jesus take over the wheel. Right? Let somebody lead you and train you and hold you accountable. Okay? All right. Peace and love. Everybody.